Welcome to Heart Stories, a podcast proudly brought to you by the Caulfield Grammarians Association. I'm your host, Doreen Brown, and this season we celebrate the journeys, passions, and values of remarkable individuals, many of whom share a connection to the Caulfield community. This series is a platform for heartfelt conversations that shine a light on creativity, leadership, and a sense of community that define extraordinary lives. At Heart Stories, we believe every achievement begins with a story. Together, we'll uncover the challenges, milestones, and lessons that have shaped our guests. Through their insights, we'll explore how shared values and a commitment to making a difference inspire both individuals and communities to thrive. So thank you for joining us. Settle in, open your mind, and get ready to discover stories that inspire, empower, and unite. This is Heart Stories. Let's begin. On this episode of Heart Stories, we're thrilled to welcome Laura Hayne, a globally minded people and culture professional passionate about strategy, leadership, and organizational transformation. With a background in global studies that deeply shapes her approach to culture and adaptability, Laura excels at building workplaces where people and performance thrive together. In her role, she actively translates strategy into action by driving leadership programs, talent development, and the overall employee experience. Laura also holds a profound connection to the Caulfield Grammar School community, serving as both a dedicated sports coach and an executive committee member for the Caulfield Grammarians Association. In every role she takes on, Laura brings a deep dedication to fostering growth, empowering others, and building strong, supportive communities. So, welcome to Heart Stories. It's an absolute honour to have you join us today, Laura.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be invited on here, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Amazing. Now, as mentioned in the introduction, you do have a deep connection to the Caulfield Grammar School as a dedicated sports coach and executive committee member for Caulfield Grammarians Association. How has staying so closely connected to this community shaped your professional and personal journey?
I think it's twofold, the professional side and the personal side. Professionally, I started a global studies degree. I actually started art science. It ended up not sort of being quite for me. And I ended up at a point where I was really like, I'm not sure what I want to do, where I want to go. And so using the CGA and Caulfield Grammarian networks was ways for me to connect, ask questions, have coffee catch ups. And I actually got my first internship from somebody who's been a long time mentor and now just a very incredibly good friend of mine. So she gave me my first internship, which really launched me on my career into HR and leadership. And so I think professionally, the connection to Caulfield that I never would have had, had I gone somewhere else has come out. And then personally, I loved school. I had a great time at school. I think what Caulfield stands for is incredible about developing the whole person. And I know how much I benefited. So I really enjoy giving that back, whether it be through the CGA and helping other young people get connected or
Yep.
through rowing where coaching, where I get to sort of have a direct impact on young people as they come through the school and ensure that they have, the same experiences and opportunities that I got in my the small part that I get to play.
And were there any significant moments during your time at school? Maybe there were teachers or particular subjects or classes that really had, a profound impact on you as well.
I think ironically, and those who don't do rowing will sort of roll their eyes, but those who do rowing and understand what it's like will sort of agree and understand when I say this, that actually it was probably, and it was for me, it was basketball as well, and the access to sport and leadership through sport. It's led to my role working in sport, but just the skills and the people and the connections that I met, through rowing. This particular mentor came through rowing, and she's probably been one of the most profound people in my life and still is. So, yeah, I think the ability to be a part of something that not everybody gets to do, and the commitment and the resilience that it taught me how to get up when things are hard, how to persevere, have held me in such good stead from there to now, will continue to, for the rest of my life.
Love those lessons. Now, you do have a background in global studies, and clearly this impacts how you view culture and adaptability. How do you use this global perspective to build better workplaces and drive meaningful change?
I think that originally when I did global studies, I was like, "Oh gosh, I'm so fascinated by this and how does it work in the corporate sense?" And I was sort of like, it doesn't directly, you don't see HR and global studies and go, that's a direct pathway. However, I've actually found that the skills that I've learned through the global studies degree, I spent some time living in America, I spent some time doing a research project in Malaysia, I lived in the UK for a little bit, understanding of how different people operate, how different people think. And so when we talk about rolling out leadership programs, when we talk about how to encourage culture and people's engagement in the workplaces, that looks different. It looks
Yeah.
different for everyone and it looks different for, there's a diversity of life stages, there's diversity of cultures, of religions, of genders. And the most important part is listening to people and then creating a really inclusive environment. But for me, it all comes back to listening and understanding where people are coming from and why, some things matter to some people in different ways than they matter to me or to others, but that we're all actually equally important. So I think the global studies and understanding of different cultures has made me, I don't like them more accepting. I like to think that I was always accepting, but it's
Yeah.
made me more appreciative, I guess,
Yeah.
of how it shows up differently.
Yeah, and the awareness, as you said,
Yeah.
living especially in different countries and seeing how people interact and their communication skills and things like that. And what was some of your experiences overseas that were different to here in Australia and in Melbourne?
Yeah, I first finished school and I went and lived in the UK for just right up until COVID. So I think I was there about 15, 16 months in the end. And I went and worked in a boarding school, did a gap year. So I got
Yeah.
to see how schooling operated differently there as well. And then I went to college in the US on an exchange. So I went down to Florida and tried to pick a state with a very different point of view to me. And it was incredibly enlightening. And
Yeah.
then Malaysia, we ended up in rural Malaysia doing a research project on how we can help the rural communities with the impacts of flooding. And I think one of the most profound moments for me was we went and spoke to this community that sat in at the bottom of a valley, and every year homes got wiped out for flooding. Without fail, every single year, decimated, and they had to build from the ground up. Or every flood, and we were trying to understand why they weren't changing their ways, because
Yeah.
for us, I was like, "Well, just build it higher, like, if you wanna
Or
stay here, build
move.
it higher or move." And you can see how these people come in and go, "Just do this," like, it's obvious, but for them and that for their religion, this particular native group, they were like, "If we build the house higher, God makes the water come in higher." Not God, but their God, and then it will destroy more land. And so they had this real belief around they can't build the houses higher because then more land will be destroyed. And understanding that that was a really core part of their religion and their belief was like, okay, how can we then safeguard you to keep, documents up in higher places? How can we get routes out when the floods come? Maybe there are houses on higher ground that you go to just during floods where your documents live and things like that. And I think I've gone off track, but these different experiences around the way different people and different ages are thinking and communicating and approaching things as well. And how can I help you if I don't see the barriers?
And you would never get to see that unless you were traveling and located in these different areas and experiences that you've been able to have. People in their 40s or 50s may never get to experience that. So it's a true gift, I think,
Yeah.
and definitely makes you see things in a different light and in a different way. Now, how do you approach turning big picture business strategies into real everyday actions for people doing the work?
Look, I think it's always a work in progress. I think I'm very much at the start of my career, but understanding what are the pillars, what are the strategy, what are the outcomes we're trying to achieve. And you can have these really big picture things of we are trying to get here. And
Yeah.
for me, it's about mapping it out into themes. Is it a capability gap that we're trying to address? Is it a leadership uplift that we're trying to address? Is it resourcing that we're trying to address? I'm quite HR oriented. So that, that's where my experience is lying currently. But yeah, breaking it then down into what's the impact we're looking for. And when I understand the impact, I can see the steps towards trying to achieve that, because it's not doing things for the sake of it. It's why am I doing it? What impact am I actually trying to have? So, looking at an AI ready workforce, the impact is I'm trying to get people embedded into AI and using AI. You can start to look at the skills that you need to have that impact.
Yes.
It's a bit of a work backwards model for me.
I love that. It's all about intention behind what you're doing instead of, as you said, just ticking a box. Yep, we've just got to do this. What does it mean? What impact is it going to have? And how is that driving us towards our end goal? Now, what is your secret to finding that perfect balance, especially in a fast paced sports organization?
I don't think there is a perfect balance especially when it is a fast paced business. Definitely it's a 24/7 business. People are operating 7 days a week. I also try to do rowing coaching, and that's a few times a week. They've been really supportive of balancing work and rowing, and then you're trying to see your friends and your family and do all of those things, and then pick up your hobbies and all of that. I think everything is a fine balance. I don't think I have it. Some weeks I don't have it at all. Some weeks
Yeah.
it's 100% work and that's that. And then we get to head of schoolgirls for rowing, and it's 100% head of schoolgirls, and it ebbs and sort of flows. For me, planning is really clear. I was able to sit down at the start of March and go, this is what I've got on, and it is going to be bananas. And there are things that are going to have to give, or friends I haven't seen for a few weeks. But, being able to go into the start of the month and go, I need to be really intentional with my work and my coaching here. I need this time. And then I get to be really intentional with my family over Easter. I get to be really intentional with my friends after that. So sometimes I find communicating upfront, even though it feels hard to be like, I don't have time for you, or I don't have time for this. It actually has helped me in the long run, because there's clarity around where I'm going to be for other people.
I like that. Balance is whatever works for you. It really is. Now, what do you find most rewarding about mentoring young athletes and helping them grow into confident leaders? Yeah.
I think I just really love it. I think having an impact on young people. You're at an incredibly influential age between sort of, I guess, 15 to 18, or, and the science is sort of between actually 15 and 25. But having guidance and helping people not only be better athletes, but better people, and understand themselves and their limits and how they engage with others. I just think I benefited so much from the people that I had around me. And I really love the idea of passing that forward and being a small part of a journey that gives young people, the confidence to try something and then try again and again and learn how to be resilient. And I just find it really powerful. They're our future, and young people bring so much joy. I know that when I'm really stressed at work and there's a lot going on and there's a lot of, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Suddenly I turn up and we're joking about
Yeah.
the latest TikTok trend, and I'm in fits of laughter going, what is this?
Yeah.
But I look back and I go, God, like there's so much joy that has nothing to do with anything that you do in your normal day-to-day routine.
Yeah. Love that. Now, as someone who has coached and mentored many Caulfield students, what advice would you give to current students seeking to develop their confidence, leadership skills, and sense of community?
I think it's all a work in progress. There's an element of which I feel like I've said a lot in this, and I'm a work in progress on this one. Getting comfortable being uncomfortable for me has been a really big one. Last year, I got asked to speak at the Caulfield Grammar Valedictory. I didn't realize how many people were going to be there, and it was a really uncomfortable situation for me. It was, and I think there was about 1,000 people there, and I was freaking out, but I got up and I delivered my speech, a speech I was really proud of. And I sat back down and I was like, God, that felt good. And then more speaking opportunities come up. And
Yeah.
suddenly I'm like, I can do this. And if I can do it there, I can do it here. So sometimes taking a first little step, it doesn't have to be the biggest straight to 1,000 people. It can be a little step and getting involved. And then each step leads to another one, and then eventually you sort of have built your confidence. In terms of being in a community, I think you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So for me, I love being a part of the Caulfield Grammar community. There's a few communities that I'm a part of that I absolutely love, but it's being involved and it's connecting with new people and it's making the effort and having the conversations. If it's a footy club, it's going to trainings. If it's a basketball team, it's going. If it's a orchestra, it's going and staying around afterwards. It's just, you will get the community out the presence that you put in.
Yeah.
And I think leadership is, I would love to be a leader. I think I have real ambitions to lead people and lead teams. And I sit in leadership because I'm fascinated by it. I spend my spare time reading leadership books. I'm actually a little bit crazy, but I love how you make teams, better. I think the opportunities come when you put your hand up. And I think people only know to give you opportunities if they know you're looking.
Yeah.
So, having conversations. For me, I'm working on public speaking. Oh, I'd really love to do that. Oh, I'd love to do that. Oh, I'm really, yeah. Can I? And, at some points, it's literally hopping up and just running the Kahoot quiz. But one day, hopefully, I'll be running the whole thing. I think there's an element of just getting involved and trying and expressing your interest.
Yeah. And showing up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think showing up.
Yeah.
100%.
Uh,
And you might not be great at it the first time, but you try and people want to help. I think my message to young people is that people will give you time and they want to help. And you get really chuffed when you get asked
Yeah.
to have a coffee and they will give you so much time. And I've benefited from that. So sometimes it is just, show up, have a go.
Yep. Love it. Now, you've already achieved so much across education, sports, and corporate culture. As you look forward, what excites you most about the future of organizational transformation and really helping people reach their full potential?
I think probably what excites me about organizational transformation is it comes about when there's ways that things can be being done better and there's ways that we can increase people's experience in the workplace and inclusivity. So I see it as we're doing this because there's an opportunity here to make people's experience better. And I think that's sort of where I find a lot of my purpose coming from. You spend a lot of your time at work and it has such a positive impact, but it can go the other way too. So the opportunity to work and design and potentially alter and help organizations achieve a place where people can be authentic and they can be included and they can show up and then they can do a really good job.
Yeah.
And then the business will succeed more is something that really resonates really strongly with me. And I think that excites me about the future of it. I think workforces are changing now, and I think they're going to change with the use of AI and global undercurrents that are happening at the moment and will continue to happen and things that we don't foresee. I'm sure even a few weeks ago we didn't foresee being in an oil crisis.
Yeah.
Potentially some did, but there are definitely some that didn't. And so I think knowing that there is a lot of change to come and being a part of a team that will hopefully help people thrive through and after those changes can be really inspiring to me.
Excellent. Well, thank you again. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time and wish you all the best with your future endeavors, whatever that looks like. I don't think we can plan for anything, as you kind of just mentioned at the moment. But it was lovely
No.
to have this conversation with you. And thank you for being part of the Caulfield Grammar Association community as well.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on board, and hopefully some people can take a few things away from it.
They absolutely will. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Heart Stories. A heartfelt thank you to our guests for sharing their story, wisdom, and passion with us today. Their insights remind us of what makes creativity, leadership, and community so impactful in shaping meaningful lives. Brought to you by the Caulfield Grammarians Association, this podcast celebrates the shared values that unite us and inspire us to grow, connect, and lead with purpose. We hope today's conversation has sparked reflection on your own story and the legacy you're building. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an inspiring story. Share it with your friends, family, or anyone who could use a dose of inspiration. And be sure to join us next time for another powerful conversation with a guest who has a story worth telling. But until then, take care, stay curious, and continue making an impact. This is Heart Stories. See you next time.